Today's 3 posts are about boundaries. Boundaries within family, boundaries at the initial stage of dating and knowing and understanding what you like and what you dislike, and boundaries within a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship. It's so important that we continue to have these discussions because a lot of the time boundaries are socialized out of us. Many women are taught to not have a sense of self-preservation, and I want us to continue to see these examples front and center about many ways in which our boundaries are trampled over, and for you to know and understand that it is perfectly fine for you to state your boundaries, state when things are out of pocket, and then make steps to correct them, and even move those people out of your life if they are not respecting boundaries. So give these 3 different posts a watch. Let me know what you think, and drop any stories that you may have about boundaries and people crossing the line. I was sent this post, and this is an example of how women's labor, unpaid labor, is expected. It's not even necessarily about a spouse or a girlfriend. It's just a woman in general. In this case, it is a sibling. She gives an update here. I will come back to it, but it's titled, "Am I the a-hole for terrorizing my brother, making him live in his own filth?" So she has decided not to continue to clean up after her brother. Let's get into the main post and I'll come back up to the update. All right, she says, "My brothers are all pigs. We had a very traditional house where girls cleaned and washed dishes from the time we were old enough to walk and stand on chairs, and my brothers never did anything. As adults, cannot even turn a washer on. I very much resented how I felt like I had to raise my own father, and how holidays and weekends were always spent with my brothers and dad laying around and us cleaning. Even Christmas, they got to play with their toys and we went in the kitchen. I do not care about excuses like, I was never taught. We are all adults now, and they can YouTube and Google whatever they do not know. I learned how to patch walls, change tires, change oil, etc. All the gendered stuff I was never taught. So I do not see why he can't as well. My brother got put out by his girlfriend after they just had their first kid because he does not help with anything. Since staying with me, I've forced him to do stuff. When he first moved into my house, it went from my tidy, clean utopia to a disgusting mess. Y'all, he would spit sunflower seeds on the floor, hide his food and dirty dishes around the house, spit chewed gum behind the coffee machine, feet from the trash can, hide snack food everywhere, smoke on the toilet, and put cigarettes out on my floor, which is a slap in the face as I asked him to not even smoke inside because I don't smoke. Leave his dirty clothes everywhere, even on the living room floor, etc. I would be losing my mind. Even when he ordered food for himself, he would eat it at the table, then leave it for me to put away for him. Anytime he took anything out of the fridge, he would leave it on the table and would often leave the fridge open. I'm not joking. I found maggots 3 times from his mess. I lost it and told him to change his behavior totally or get out. Well, he started doing stuff, but as badly as he could. He would put bowls in the dishwasher so they would be filled with nasty water, mop with the same water for days on end, leaving it smelling of rot. Do his laundry by putting it in the washer and leaving it for me to finish. Put food away by throwing it all over the fridge, spilling food everywhere. The best was when he put syrup away upside down on the top shelf with no lid on, coating my entire fridge in syrup that took hours to clean. And then he would say, I'm trying, and you are being a B word. I'm trying to compose myself as I'm reading this. I lost my temper, and I know I couldn't just leave him on the street, so I divided the house. Why can't you leave him on the streets? The cabinet doors all have locks from the previous owners, so I got him some dishes from the Goodwill and forbade him from using any of my dishes, so he is eating off his filthy dishes. I made it very clear that anything left on the floor, clothing, etc., gets 1 day grace period, then it will be thrown away. Same with the few dishes he has, as he would leave them in the sink until they started to grow mold. I started locking my bathroom door, and he has to use the one in the basement, which I refuse to clean. If his clothes are in the washer for more than 8 hours and I need to use it, I dump them wet on his bed. Any trash he leaves laying around goes on his bed. If he orders food and gets up and leaves his leftovers, I leave them to rot. Then they get thrown away, though twice the idiot has left food out overnight and came out and started angry eating it whilst glaring at me. Both times the idiot got food sickness. He destroyed my fridge again, putting juice in upside down with the lid barely on once again, destroying my food. So I mopped it up with towels and dumped the towels and all my ruined food on his bed. And then I put a lock on the fridge. She put a lock on the fridge. Yes, he earned that. He hates me and says I am terrorizing him. I say I was forced to mother him as a child, but was never given any parental control to actually teach him how life works. And since my brothers use my childhood to treat me like a maid, I will no longer parent them. My view is some lessons have to be learned painfully. I will not gentle parent a grown man who cannot close a fridge door. Am I the a-hole? You're absolutely not the a-hole. This is not your responsibility. He's an adult. I bet you he can function outside the home. He can function within the home. And obviously he's used to having a woman serve him. Like the girlfriend said, you gotta go. She already has a new baby that she has to take care of. And now this man is thinking his sister's going to pick up the slack. He needs to get his own place. I can't understand this. Okay, so here's the update. She says, I couldn't believe my eyes when I opened Reddit and saw the number of notifications. Wow. So just to update everyone, things came to a head today. I had to work the early shift and had a session with my table tonight at 6. I'm DM a few D&D games, Dungeons and Dragons, I guess. I begged my brother to keep the living room clean. I came home and the house was more than trashed. More than trashed. I mean, it looked like a bomb went off. He even dropped a cup of milk on the floor and left it. I flung the whole milk jug at his head and screamed at him to get the F out. He tried to bulk up on me, and I lost it, screaming, get out, over and over. And I guess he saw how unhinged I was because he stormed out. I cleaned up the milk, then jumped online to message everyone and catch up and saw the 700 plus notifications. You all gave me some really solid advice, and I knew reading the replies last night that this was over. I was going to give him a few weeks, but seeing that milk all across my new floor was the last straw. I don't know where he's going. I don't care. I thank all of you. I love Reddit people. End of update. Milk on the floor? How do people even live like this? How do you live? You waste something and you just leave it there for somebody else to clean up. That's that level of audacity that I do. That's some special. They have it on clearance somewhere for these people. I'm glad that she got rid of him, though, because that was definitely becoming a nuisance. And definitely everybody was in the comments saying, why are you even allowing this? Like this person says, get him out. Why is he even living with you? The original Iron Dan says, this is the question. I mean, smoking in the house is bad enough, but putting it out on the floor? He'd have been out of my house right then if he wasn't already. OP, you don't deserve the treatment he's giving you or that the rest of the males in your family have. And he doesn't deserve to live under your roof. Absolutely right. He does not deserve that. If you don't want him to be homeless, put a refrigerator box in your backyard, change the locks and tell him he's moving to Frigidaire Estates. Oh my goodness. And if he takes care of his new home, you'll upgrade him to the model with the optional wax paper sunlight. Seriously, he's not your problem. Kick him to the curb, literally. Not Frigidaire Estates, though. Mini ad says, it seems like he actively hates her, right? It's the syrup in the fridge that would have sent me over the edge. What a pain in the butt to clean. And the OP says, it was horrific to clean because I was gone for 3 days. And by the time I got back, it was like molasses. I ended up having to shove all the fridge drawers in my bathtub and scrub them. I was bawling. I was so upset. Fisherman Left says, your childhood sounds like one of those culty outfits that has youth leaders sleeping with underage teens and pastors grooming young girls. Thoroughly gross. And then she says, our church is #1 for those scandals recently. I was groomed by our youth leader. It was fairly standard for the elders to go on a mission, then marry a barely legal teenage girl when they were in their late 20s to 30s. It is rampant. Someone says, Mormon? This sounds like Mormons. And she says, spot on. They're Mormons. So after intravenous D'Amelio says, get him out, why is he even living with you? Complex Hope says, she was conditioned as a young child to accept the behavior from men. Even putting in this boundary is likely a big step for her. Of course, I hope she takes from this thread that he's abhorrent and she doesn't need to accept this behavior, though I get why she may not think she can just kick him out, even though she can and she should. And here's the OP again saying, this is it 100%. In my church, if you complain about men not cleaning, people would think you're insane. I posted this 10,000% thinking I was going to get roasted for being a B word. LOL. I do some of these stories to make you understand how socialization really does make people behave certain ways. She thought that she had to accept this because it was normal in her church, even though this is not normal behavior to have to accept. Speaking in a wider arena means other people get to say, this is not right. And this is one of the reasons why social media is so powerful. Anyways, y'all, join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. I've had this conversation before, how men do not really like it when women don't drink while on dates or, out and about socializing in mixed company. They don't really like it because they do know that they're plying women with alcohol to lower their boundaries. They know this. So that's why this woman is having this interaction with this man. She says, we match. Man writes immediately about how beautiful I am. After exchanging 3 messages total, man asked to meet up the same night at a wine bar and gave me the bar name he wanted to go to. I asked if they serve non-alcoholic drinks, as I do not drink alcohol. Never been an alcohol drinker. This was his response and immediately unmatched with me. It's given, you thought you were about to take advantage of me. Yeah, no. Literally the strangest message I've received as a 36-year-old sober individual. And his message was, I never had a good experience with a woman that don't drink alcohol, so I will pass. That is exactly what right here is given. You thought you were about to take advantage. That is exactly what he thought. And they know that they have to, I guess they really feel like they have to do this. Do they not have any social skills that they cannot just speak to a woman and learn how to talk to women like humans to get a relationship started or spark some interest? I guess not. Miss Jones says that man with his poor grammar is probably out here essaying women after they get drunk. So you dodged a bullet. I said, plying women with alcohol loosens her up to bring down her boundaries. I think more women should forego alcohol around men. And if you do want to follow a bunch of amazing women on Threads, just find me. I'm Bourbon Bougie over on Threads, and then just follow the women I follow. I have an amazing timeline over on Threads. Every time I open up my Threads, the timeline is banging. This is a man. He says, why do we have to villainize this man? Laughing my butt off. What if all the non-drinking women he's dated or known are judgmental and always trying to change him to not drink, and he doesn't want that? He wasn't nasty or mean. Lord, it's a mess out there. I do not believe that she villainized him. She talked about the exchange. These people do want to stay on code. It's never anything wrong with the way the man interacted. And this person, like I said, a man, is downplaying how alcohol is used to lower women's boundaries. Krista says, this could be true, but how fast he was moving to meet immediately without really trying to get to know anything else about me, and the quick, immediate unmatch without inquiring why I don't drink or anything else threw up a red flag. Lorena says, yep, this is it. His intentions didn't seem pure at all. Miss Maisie King says either he was going to try to pour liquor down your throat or he was going to pour liquor down his throat and blame his actions on said alcohol. Either way. Trendy says, I keep saying don't go out until you've had at least 2 weeks of consistent, relevant conversation. These men can't hide their BS for long. Some can, a lot can't. I don't really think that this is true. Some people can totally hide their intentions. They can mask for longer than 2 weeks. I do believe that you should have some conversations. You know what, honestly though, I don't think women should be online dating in this current iteration. I just don't. I think women need to get off of the dating apps. Lawson Brooks says, ha 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 ha. Wow, women need an alcohol buffer to find him tolerable. Their judgment needs to be impaired for him to appear desirable. And at the bottom, she says, sober women don't fall for my BS, is what he meant to say. Now we have a trucking nurse. I like this woman. She's sassy. She's given her her dating thread experience. She says, okay, so boom. I remember I was dating this guy and he would get mad that I had to work on the weekends. Now, when he met me, he knew that I was a nurse. I owned a trucking company at the same time, so I wasn't working crazy nurse hours, but I still had the minimum obligation of every other weekend. Each weekend when I had to work, he would start an argument. He would get mad and say, you always working on my days off. Mind you, he's one of those, I love an independent woman, and those that you never ask for. And he doesn't offer it either. He doesn't offer any money, but he wants her to be off. My first time in life dating outside my preference of a generous man. Never the F again. We did just have a conversation about men being supposedly feminist and how some men weaponize feminism. And you know what? I'm cheering you on for being out there and being a go-getter and having money. But then it could end up like this, where they're upset that you have to go to work. Like, dude, this is what adults do. Adults go to work. Why are you getting mad? And why are you starting an argument before I have to go to work? Women have got to start setting a boundary. These people starting an argument. You need to hang up the phone or just extract yourself from the situation, because they're trying to get you off your game and jack you up for when you go to work or have an important test or have an important interview or something. They're trying to sabotage you. Jay Hart's Good Boy says, it's funny because men love acting like they'll give it all to a woman that don't expect anything, but it's just an excuse to be cheap. And that's it. Like, a woman who wants nothing gets everything. That is such a lie. Ask for what you want or go after what you want. A trucking nurse says, man, I'll never fall for that scam again. Jay Hart says, the more we talk about our experiences, the less they can gaslight us as a whole. They just regurgitate the BS and make us think maybe we're tripping. This is how so many of us became single moms and or lost all we worked for, by listening to the BS. Stop listening to them. And like she said, they're all spouting the exact same thing. So that's the reason why I continue to talk about things. And I do repeat the same things over and over. We've been conditioned for decades to fall for their BS. It's going to take more than a couple of years of listening to me use these cautionary tales. It's going to take a lot more deprogramming so that we can reprogram some healthier behaviors or program some healthy boundaries. It's going to take a little while. A trucking nurse says, and I knew better, but I was influenced to try something different. F that, I know what I like. And Bossy Bun says, the F you supposed to do if he don't F off. And a trucking nurse was like, I was like, at this point, stay single, because his deceased wife didn't work. However, you want a woman with her own, but you want her always available to you, and you ain't offering nothing? Yeah, I'ma head out. Yes, ladies, figure out when they're on their BS and figure it out quickly and then leave them alone. Do not waste your time, energy, and resources on these people, especially when you already know what you like. Leave them where they stand. Let me know what you think about these two dating experiences. Drop any comments if you have any dating experiences. And like I said, clock it and block them quicker. Clock it and block it. Join the conversation, like, comment, and share. If your boyfriend or husband makes jokes or pranks at your expense, he needs to be an ex-boyfriend or an ex-husband. These people need to learn, because you're walking away and they're getting blocked. I'm tired of these people using jokes and pranks as a way to embarrass the women in their lives. This woman posted in the Am I the A-hole subreddit just 2 hours ago saying, am I the a-hole for embarrassing my boyfriend after he kept making jokes at my expenses? Now, she's obviously young. She's 23, boyfriend's 26. But I want to keep having these conversations so women, young and old, know that you do not have to be the butt of the joke. She says, I've been dating my boyfriend for almost a year. He's funny, charming, and generally a great guy, but lately he's developed a habit of making jokes about me in front of his friends. At first, it was small things like teasing me about how long I can take to get ready or how I can't cook. I laughed it off because I don't take myself too seriously. But then it escalated. He started making comments about my job. I work in marketing, and he calls it playing on Instagram all day, and my intelligence, joking that I get by on my looks. His friends always laugh, and I just awkwardly smile, but it's been bothering me. I've told him in private that it makes me uncomfortable, but he brushes it off as me being too sensitive. Last weekend, we were at a bar with his friends, and he made a joke about how I tried to change a tire once and almost called 911. It was embarrassing because it wasn't even true. I was watching YouTube to make sure I did it right. His friends laughed, and I snapped. I said, "Oh, I can make jokes about you too, but I respect you too much to embarrass you in front of your friends." The mood shifted immediately. His friends went silent, and my boyfriend got super defensive, saying I ruined the vibe. On the way home, he was furious, calling me immature and saying I embarrassed him. He even said, "Guys joke with their girls all the time. You're the only one who can't take it." In the heat of the moment, I snapped, and I told him I was done being the butt of his jokes, and now he's barely speaking to me. Am I the a-hole for real? And the thing about it is, now he's not talking to her. So is he incapable of having conversations without demeaning her or trying to embarrass her? And these people, she's saying guys joke with their girls all the time. Maybe those women need to be walking away too. But what happened? She set a boundary. She said, "This is not cool. I'm not going to accept it anymore." And they're like, "Oh my God, we got to treat her like a human. We got to stop laughing at her." I actually did post on this post saying women need to leave these jokester men alone. Humiliating your girlfriend is not the best way to make a relationship last. Leave them quicker. Leave them quicker. That's period, point blank. I do want to highlight what he's doing right here. He is degrading her looks, her intelligence, her job. He is really trying to push her self-esteem and self-confidence into the gutter and then laughing it off as a joke because maybe he wants her self-esteem off. So maybe she is continuing to try to prove herself that she's worthy of him or whatnot. I don't know. This is definitely a manipulation tactic, a control tactic so that he stays in control. Maybe she doesn't get too much confidence to walk away from him. I don't know. But this is a manipulation tactic that women need to know and understand early so that when they see it, they can leave these people alone. It's not worth it to be in a relationship with these types of people. Like, why would you want to be with somebody that's not proud of your intelligence and proud to be with you because he is just attracted and like, yes, I get to go out with this woman chose me? Like, why wouldn't he be like that versus like trying to joke about her looks? Absolutely not. This is not how you build a happy, long-lasting relationship. Leave these people alone. All right, let's look at some of these comments. Square Minimum says, "Screw him. He makes those jokes because he's an insecure man baby who needs to feel bigger than he is." And then the OP says, "The dumbest part is that he's doing that only around his friends. When we're alone, he's cute and caring. I'm really pissed. And it's not like we haven't talked about it before." Boopity Goopity, I love that name, says, "The way he treats you in public matters a lot, just as much, if not more, than how he treats you in private. It shows how he wants to be perceived in the relationship and how he thinks women should be respected. He clearly does not view you as relationship equals, and you should pay attention to this and start noting how he treats the other women in his life." Patient Mammoth says, "Your boyfriend is a red flag." Gas Only Guy says, "As a male, I have to agree. The odd joke is one thing. We should all be able to deal with those, but not laying off after discussing it shows he's not willing to be sensitive to your wishes. Hit him hard with good comebacks when he makes you the brunt of the jokes. If he doesn't get the point and learn how it feels, move on. Also, seems like he may think he is the higher status individual in your relationship given your ages and his behavior. Take note, good luck, love is hard. Love should not be hard. You should know not to embarrass your significant other in public. This is not that hard. It's just some of these people don't have common sense. That's the reason why they should be single until they learn some common sense." Here's the OP saying, "As I said, he only does it around his friends, around his relatives. He's a completely different person. It's just the last months we actually started going out together with friends, and not going to lie, is pissing me off. I hope it's pissed her off enough to leave the relationship, especially if he refuses to change and starts stonewalling when she brings up this situation. She's bringing it up. She's saying, it's making me uncomfortable. I don't want you to do this anymore. And instead of, changing his behavior, he's just going to give her the silent treatment. That is not the way adults fix problems, to just go quiet about it. Absolutely not. All right, y'all. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think. Join the conversation. Leave jokesters alone. Leave pranksters alone. People that embarrass you in public for no particular reason, leave them alone. Like, comment, and share.